The 80th chapter of Tehillim continues with the chapters that were composed by, we'll call them the family of Asaph. Lamnatseach el Shoshanim Edut la'Asaph Mizbor. For the leader on Shoshanim, Edut, a psalm of Asaph. We didn't say exactly what Shoshanim. Shoshanim is either a tune or an instrument, probably more of a melody of some sort. And this is an Edut. We had other chapters way back when which had similar Al Shoshanim, similar instructions. So it may have been a song of some sort that was known, a certain tune that some of the Tehillim were written to this melody. Let's see what it says. Ro'eh Yisrael ha'azina, nohei katzon Yosef, Yoshev hakruvim hofia. Give ear, listen, Ro'eh, the shepherd of Israel, the one who leads the flock of Yosef, the one who is enthroned on the Chruvim. Chruvim, of course, the cherubs on top of the Aron, the ark made by Bitzalel at the command of Moshe back in the desert. And obviously this chapter has something to do with not just with the northern kingdom, the Ephraim, and in the Psalms of Asaph, we've seen on a number of occasions that there has been a lot of talk of the northern tribes. And so here as well, referring specifically Noheg Katzon Yosef. And if you didn't believe it, Lifnei Ephraim uVinyaminu Menashe Urat Gvuratecho Lecha Lishuata Lanu. At the head of Ephraim, Binyamin, and Menashe, rouse your strength and come to help us. So it seems like it's a problematic time. Elohim Ashivenu V'Ha'er Panecha V'Nivasher. Restore us, God. Show your favor that we may be delivered. We talked about in the last chapters about some of the verses that we have that are in the daily Tachnun. We don't say Tachnun today; it's Rosh Chodesh, but here too we have echoes of that idea. The word V'niva Shea, right, and we have the words Shemona Esrei as well. But this is a time of difficulty. We're asking God to deliver us, and we know it's been a long time. We're told in Pasuk Hey that something bad has happened. Adonai Elohim Tzvaot. Admatai Ashanta B'Tfilat HaMecha, God of hosts, how long will you be wrathful towards the prayers of your people? How long do we have to pray for you to answer, for you to? And in this verse, we have the word Ashanta. You may know the word Ashan. You've probably been to Israel, and maybe, when you've been there, you've seen a sign that says, right, that you are not allowed to ashain, which means to smoke. Probably people were listening to what the sign said, right? But lashon is to smoke. So there are those who understand this verse as admatai ashanta, as sort of how long will you be clouded? Will you have smoke on top of you? That's not because in modern Hebrew, la'ashen means to smoke, but la'ashen means to smoke because of this word and other places, right? It's like God is clouded, can't see, lack of clarity. Our prayers are not getting through to you. How long will you be, right? The English that I have here translates it as wrathful, but it seems to be that's understanding of the sentiment, but the word seems to say that things are not clear, that it's cloudy, that it's full of smoke, that God can't see our prayers. Continuing Pasuk Vav, He'echaltem lechem dim'ah v'tashkemo b'dmot shalish. You have fed them tears as their daily bread, made them drink great measures of their tears, and their interpretations that understand that maybe they use tears in kneading the dough. And that's part of what's being said here. But right, you're being fed tears. That's what you're eating from. That's what you're drinking from. Previous chapters, a lot of we had talks of the kos, of the cup, shvoch chamatcha, the pouring of the cup of the anger. And here it is not the enemies, the Jewish people who are. Oh, that's a nice motorcycle. Sorry, there are the enemies of the Jewish people who are the ones who are. Here it's, not the enemies of the Jewish, but the Jewish people are the ones who are drinking the wrath. Continuing Pasuk Zayin, Tishimenu Madon L'Shichenenu, Be'oivenu Yilagu Lamo. You set us at strife with our neighbors, our enemies mock us at will. Right? Our enemies have been able to come in, they've been able to do whatever they want to us because you're not protecting us. Elohim Tzvaot. Hashivenu V'Ha'er Panecha V'Nivashea. You may be familiar with that verse because this verse, Pasuk Chet, was the same one as basically, as was the same words as Pasuk Dalet. There was Elohim Ashivenu Ve'er Panecha Nivasheh. Start with Elohim, and here it's Elohim Tzvaot. So it's the Lord of hosts, the Tzava, the army, right? We're asking you, God, to protect us. Gefen mi Mitzrayim Tasia Tigaresh Goyim V'Tita'eh. Now we're going to draw a scene, a metaphor, an analogy. You plucked up a vine from Egypt, right? So the Jewish people here are compared to a vine. You may remember back in Yeshaya, the Jewish people were compared to a vine. We've had chapters where we're compared to a vineyard. And here we go back to that idea. We're like a vine. And remember, vine spreads out, it grows. And to plant this vine, Tigaresh, God, you expelled other nations, right? 7 nations that were in Israel, you expelled them so that we could be planted there. You cleared a place for it. And what happened? This vine, it took its roots, went in deep, and it filled the land. The mountains were covered by its shade, mighty cedars by its boughs. So this vine is it's climbing up the trees, it's planting everywhere, all over the place. Its branches reach the sea, it shoots all the way to the river. Lama paratzta gidereha ve'arura kolavredera. Then why, God, did you breach its wall? Why did you open the vineyard? Why did you, right here, let the enemies come in and destroy the Jewish people? Perhaps you're referring to the northern kingdom, because we started with Yosef and Binyamin, Ephraim and Menashe, right? So why did you let every passerby pluck its fruit? Everybody is able to come in to Israel and injure us and damage us. We're in Pasuk Yudalit. Yichar semena chazir miyar v'ziz sadai yirena. Wild boars gnaw at it, and creatures of the field feed on it. There's a little ayin in there. That's one of the places where we have a smaller letter that occasionally comes in, and one of the interpretations is, right, it's little. When the Jewish people are worthy, then the enemies are like nothing, and they get caught in the David, what are you doing? You're kicking me in the head. Yes, you are. You just were. Our enemies are small, and if not, our enemies are big. Elohim tzvaot. Shuvna habeit mishamayim ure'ei ufakod gefenzot. God, turn again, look down from the heaven and see. Look down to this vine. The vine that you planted with your right hand, the stem that you have taken as your own. You took us out from Mitzrayim. You planted us down here, and now, yes, maybe we weren't good, maybe we didn't listen to you, but we have been punished. Surufava eish kisucha, we're in verse 17. Miga'arat panecha yovedu. It's been burned by fire. The vine has been cut down. It's been perished before your angry blast. Tihi yadcha al ish yeminecha al ben adam imatztalach. Grant your help to the man at your right hand, the one you have taken as your own. What does this mean? So is this saying to the tribe of David? As we saw in an earlier chapter, a condemnation of the northern tribes, and talking about David as being the servant and his descendant. So is that perhaps what is related here? Let him come to help us, because these other families, the families of Ephraim, the northern kingdom, their kings did not save them. Continuing verse 19, we will not turn away from you. Preserve our life, that we may call out in your name, that we may praise you. Just something about that. We have that a lot, going back all the way a long time ago to the Migdal Bavel, right? You know the story of the Migdal Bavel. I don't know how many chapters it was ago, 600 chapters, whatever it might be. Very early on, one of the first ones we studied together, what do the people of the Migdal Bavel say? They say, Na'aseh lanu shem. We're going to build this tower to make a name for ourselves, to project ourselves, our height, our might. And Avraham is the one who calls out not in his name, but B'Shem Hashem. And thus these chapters, wherever we have this over and over again with the idea of the shame, the idea of the name that's coming out is that sense. It's not about me, it's about you, God. I've made mistakes, I've been punished, but redeem me so that I could once again show my love for you. And this chapter ends with the verse that we've seen 2 times. Adonai Elohim Tzvaot, Hashivenu, Ha'er Panecha V'nivasher. God of hosts, restore us, show your favor that we may be delivered. A 3rd time that we ask for it. What is the background, the backdrop to this chapter? There's a major Tanakh scholar, rabbi in Israel, Rav Meidan, who says that this was at the time, all the way in the beginning, early on, during the time of the Shoftim, when there was still the Mishkan in Shiloh, and the Mishkan was taken by the Plishtim, and the Shiloh was destroyed, and the Plishtim came in, and maybe they massacred as far north into Binyamin and into Ephraim and territory of Menashe. Maybe that's what it's referring to. It would seem in some ways that would make sense. In other ways, it seems like it's later. Maybe it's after the destruction of the Aseret HaShvatim, or when they're at death's door, and the kingdom of Yehuda is more secure, and maybe that is the background of this chapter. Either way, there's a chapter once again from this guild of Asaph. A lot of it going to the northern kingdom, to Ephraim, to the families of Yosef, in a sense, to the rivals of the kingdom of David. And a lot of them seem to say that the families of Yosef and the northern tribes have failed, while if they were led by somebody from the family of David, they would have succeeded.